will work to make things better for Israelis and Palestinians in the Middle East, and also for our communities here in the UK, and that it will help us all feel a sense of strength and hope. This is our second event. It's part of a growing collaboration between organizations across the British Jewish community, and we are united by shared values and commitment to creating space for open, informed, and pluralistic dialogue about Israel and Palestine. And you can see all the partner organizations here on the screen. I just want to thank everyone, particularly UJS, Jewish News, Progressive Judaism. You'll hear from Rabbi Charlie from Progressive Judaism at the end of the event, and also Yachad. I would now like to invite a representative for one of these organizations to say a few words and open this evening. So please welcome Noeline Cohen, the chair of New Israeli Fund. Thank you.
Always need water. Good evening, everyone. As Jenny said, I'm Noeline Cohen, and I'm the chair of the New Israel Fund here in the UK. It's a privilege to welcome you all here this evening to hear our Palestinian activist, Samir Sinijlawi, in a conversation with Sunday Times journalist Josh Glancy. These days, a simple conversation can feel like a radical act. In a world of shouting matches and shrinking middle ground, choosing to sit in a room together, to listen, to engage and challenge is one of our most important tasks. Today, we come together in a moment that feels, as Jenny said, particularly heavy. Over the past few weeks, the Jewish community has faced more anti-Semitic attacks, the horrific stabbings in Golders Green, and arson attacks on buildings and synagogues that many of us attend, in Finchley, in Hendon, and in Harrow. This week's heightening of the national security level to severe matches very clearly the level of fear felt in our community. We all feel the complicated, painful reactions of the wider British UK public and of politicians to these acts of anti-Semitism. And we hear wide-ranging support and opposition to war and a conflict that's divided families and communities and friends. But it cannot and must not be justified as the cause for the surge in anti-Jewish hatred in Britain today. We have allies. We have felt the support for which we are grateful, but we cannot ignore the loud silence that many of those who claim to be anti-racist have presented to us. Our response, however, cannot be to shrink our lives or our voices. We must stand proud as British Jews living our lives and simultaneously able to engage in discussions about Israel and Palestine and opposition to what is happening on the ground and in the region. We must speak out against the unrelenting assault on democracy and human rights and the ethno-nationalist behavior of Israel's incumbent leaders. And also, we must reaffirm what it means to be human and to care for one another. The synagogue that my family belongs to was established in the 1930s when Jews fled to Britain in the face of growing fascism in Europe. The building stands less than a mile from where Jewish ambulances were firebombed and where 2 Jewish men were brutally stabbed last week. Like all of us, I'm feeling the deep pain of anti-Semitism in this country, the one to which my own family immigrated, from one which I fought, not against anti-Semitism, but against the erosion of the law and the devastating impact of racism that was baked into the democratic infrastructure of the country in which I grew up. Israel is facing not dissimilar challenges. It's in the New Israel Fund, an organization committed to human rights, equality and justice for both Israelis and Palestinians, that I place my hope. An organization that has spent over 4 decades working to safeguard Israel's democracy, to build and strengthen Arab-Jewish partnership, and to protect those most likely to be abandoned. In the almost 4 years since the atrocities of October the 7th, the New Israel Fund is the only UK charity to continually support the wide range of civil society needs of both Israelis and Palestinians. In the wake of the horrific Hamas attack, the New Israel Fund provided humanitarian aid and trauma support to Jewish and Bedouin communities in the south, and we continue to do so. We were the first to provide emergency and financial support for the vital work of the Missing Families and Hostages Forum. Our Gaza campaign saw over 2,000 donors contribute almost $2 million for life-saving humanitarian relief in Gaza. The New Israel Fund remains committed to continue our support for the work of activists and for providing protective presence for Palestinian communities in the West Bank who are subjugated day in and day out to unrestrained settler violence. The New Israel Fund is that bridge that keeps Israelis and Palestinians holding on to one another's humanity, even when the political leadership fails to do so. As Israel heads towards another round of hugely significant elections, or maybe it's the significant elections, where law and order, morality, and democracy itself are at stake, we must not give up. The work of the many organizations and the people here tonight, our work, our shared work, is needed now more than ever. To help us navigate this landscape, we are joined tonight by two people who are no strangers to bringing truth to challenging conversations. Our guest, Sinijlawi, is a renowned Palestinian political activist from East Jerusalem. His life is a testament to transformation. A former grassroots activist who spent 5 years in an Israeli prison, Samir emerged not with bitterness, but with a fierce commitment to non-violence. He's often called a pragmatic optimist, and equally, he is often critical of the current Palestinian leadership. He calls for a rebirth of politics centered on dignity and security for both peoples. Samir will be in conversation with Josh Glancy. As news review editor and a leading columnist at the Sunday Times, Josh has spent years reporting from the front lines of global politics and on the complexities of British Jewish identity. Josh has a unique ability to find the human pulse beneath the headline. And you only have to read his piece in the Sunday Times today about the rise of anti-Semitism to see this. Tonight, we aren't looking for easy answers. We're looking for honest ones. We are here to explore what a pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian pragmatic solution might actually look like. So please join me to welcome Samir and Josh.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, good. Great, well, I'm thrilled to be here. Some of you may have been here the last time we did something a bit like this. I've followed Samir's work. I think actually we spoke on the phone once, you won't remember because you speak to a lot of people on the phone, but it was in January 2023, and I was in a hotel room in Jerusalem, and I was reporting a piece on what at the time felt like some very distressing killings that had happened in a synagogue in Jerusalem, and then Israeli forces had gone into Jenin, and it now looks rather sort of small and insignificant and is forgotten, I think, somewhat. But you're one of those voices that I've always sort of held on to, looked for, and you have that ability to speak independently and to criticize from different angles, and it's courageous. So it's not easy to do these things, and you get a lot of heat for it. So it's great to have you here. It's great to be able to have this discussion. And it's great because whenever I listen to you speak or read some of the things you write, despite everything that one might see on the news, I do come away with a little frisson of hope. So we'll try and keep that alive this evening as well. But just while we start, I wonder if you might just tell us a bit about yourself, a little bit. You have obviously a very interesting life story, how you came to be sitting here with us, telling us and occupying the position you occupy within sort of Israel-Palestine and the greater political debate around it.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Josh. It's always a pleasure to be hosted by you in this conversation. And I would like to apologize for so many friends here that I know and I couldn't have a warm conversation with them because there were too many friends that I know. But I'm really very thankful to all of you that you have arrived, some from London, some from outside London. And I hope now after the event we can catch up more. Well, I am a Palestinian that was born in the old city 53 years ago. I was a Palestinian Muslim who went to a Christian school. And before the first Intifada, I have never realized there was a conflict. Everything I used to see in Jerusalem was part of my identity. People going to synagogues or to churches or to mosques, speaking Hebrew or English or Arabic was part of my identity because I think this is the DNA of Jerusalem. I was starting my day in Collège des Frères, it's a French Catholic school, with the Christian prayer, Bismillah wal Ibn wal Ruh wal Qudus. These were part of the norms of the school. When I go back home, my grandfather takes me to the proper Muslim prayer in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and I was okay with both. When the first Intifada erupted, suddenly I realized there is us, there is them. We are in kufiyas, they are in military uniforms, we throw stones, they shoot. And I believe in that moment, the identity of the conflict invaded my generation on both sides. It became a cornerstone in our identity. So I have done what all my generation was doing at that time, throwing stones and other things. And this brought me to prison. But before going to prison, there was one incident. There are certain milestones that helped me understand this conflict in a better way. One of them was one day in the early weeks of the first Intifada, I asked my classmate, Nidar al-Rabadi. He's a Palestinian Christian. He was more affiliated with the Popular Front because the head of that organization was Christian. Most of the Christian Palestinians were part of Popular Front. I was mainstream because it was more popular, Fatah. Nobody recruited me, nobody recruited him, but it happened. I asked him to come to study with me, and then we decided to go and throw stones. We throw stones at Egged bus number 171, connecting Jerusalem with Psagot. I don't think that maybe we hit the window. We maybe hit 3-4 stones on the body of the bus, and we ran away. Then 3 soldiers went down and started shooting. Nidar received a bullet and he lost his life. Until today, I feel responsible on his life. I felt that I was maybe the reason that he lost his life. Maybe he could have been like me, a father of kids, with family, with a career. This is something that most of our leadership lack. They live in a bubble. They are not disconnected with the people. Like now, with the issue of not transferring the taxes money to the PA. Are really the Americans and Israel pulling the right string? Does really this affect the leadership? It affects the people. Those who are not getting the salaries are the civil servants of the PA, while Abbas and his cronies and his family are gaining more millions every day, regardless.
I want to ask you about that.
Yes, we'll come to this. So that was an incident that it is always in my memory. I always remember Nidal and remember my responsibility on that day. The experience of the prison was, I think, very fruitful for me.
How long were you in prison for?
I was 5 years.
Wow.
The second most remarkable day was when the Israeli military judge in the Lod military court sentenced me for 5 years. And then I said, oh my God, that's serious. So it's 88, 89, 90, 91. I will be out on 93. But it was a good experience for me because I learned several important things that shaped my personality. I learned Hebrew, so I can claim I have master's degrees in Hebrew, 5 years of intensive Hebrew. I learned patience. You cannot challenge time in jail. And I learned to be independent because nobody will take care of you. You need to keep yourself alone by yourself at that age. But most important, I started my journey of talking to the other side in a deep way. We have a lot of time. The guards also spend a lot of time. So we use this time in talking. And the talks sometimes are not necessarily politics. You talk about family, you talk about weather, you talk about everything. And when you talk with the people, you talk with the language, their own language. You start learning the culture. You start studying the conflict from the other side. Don't believe any expert who claims that he understands this conflict if he does not understand it from the eyes of both sides. You can be an Israeli expert of the conflict. Half expert is not an expert. You can be a Palestinian expert. If you don't know the Israelis, you are no expert. You need to understand this conflict from the eyes of the other side. Then you will have a proper understanding, and you will be able then to develop a better strategy in that conflict. I can tell you I was always, by nature, a leader wherever I go. Whenever I entered any prison, I became the speaker of the prison. This is the highest hierarchy in the prison structure. The speaker is responsible on communicating, negotiating with the administration of the prison. And in several stories, I also learned there that, you know, from the other side, there are some good guys that you would like to be friends with. And there are some few guys who are not so much pleasant. You want to avoid. You cannot say that we are the good guys, they are the bad guys. We have some bad guys, they have some good guys. When I was released from prison, it was Oslo at that time. Now I want to mention something during jail. When I throw stones, the narrative was, we want to liberate Palestine from the river to the sea. This is all ours. And we kept this. Some few months after my arrest, when I was in jail, I was with the minors. You know, they separate the seniors after 18 years old, and I was 15 years old, 15 and a half. So I was with the minors. In Algeria, Arafat, our symbol, the leader that we don't know anything about, but we like him because, you know, by nature you become following up the mainstream leader, announced the Declaration of Independence, where he said, now we want two-state option. They have the state of Israel, we have the state of Palestine on the Green Line borders. 1967 borders. We, the generation of the Intifada, who fought the streets for the slogan "From the river to the sea," jumped in our beds in the prison, celebrating the two-state solution. From now on, we are two-staters. The leader said so. I need you to understand the impact of the leader in our society. Okay, and I need you to understand the damage a leader that can cause to the people, the confusion. Most of the radicalization that is happening among Israelis or Palestinians is engineered by leaders who wants to keep us hostages of a certain situation because it gives them political lifeline. It applies for Abbas, it applies for another leader who was almost for 20 years again, leading a nation. Well, he was elected democratically, at least, in Israel. In our case, he was elected for a term of 4 years in 2005, and he continued to self-employ himself until today. He is at the age of 91, and now he is insisting to introduce his son to be a member in the coming Congress of Fatah, to be a member of the Central Committee. Now, some of you will be happy to see that maybe young generation is coming to power. His son is 65 years old. In UK, he is in the pension age. Okay. This guy have done business with 7 Israeli prime ministers, half of the Israeli prime ministers in the history of Israel, from 93 until today. He has done business with 7 American presidents. He didn't succeed with any one of them. And after 20 years, at the age of 91, he wants us to give him more chance.
I've got some questions on Abbas to come.
So when I was released from prison, I became the head of the Fatah Youth. And I don't know why Fatah Youth, just like the Labour Party here and the Labour Party in Israel, which was the mainstream in 93 in Israel, we are all members of the Socialism International. So in a gathering for the Young Socialist International, I started meeting the Labour Party youth and the Mayor's youth. And Ofer Dekel, he lives here in UK, by the way, now, was the head of the Labour youth. We became very close friends. And we started working together on things that are related to the youth in both leading parties. In 96, when the Likud came to power, I was asked by the American cultural attaché in the consulate in East Jerusalem if I would consider meeting the head of the Likud youth. And I said, with pleasure. Convince him, and we can start this. We can continue what we started with the Labour youth, with the Likud youth. They accepted, and they insisted that we visit Metzodot Ze'ev, the headquarters of the Likud in Tel Aviv. So we went, 8 young leaders from the Fatah, and there we find a demonstration of the right-wingers who are trying to prevent Fatah to enter that holy site of the Likud, the headquarters. And for the first time, the Israeli police was on our side. He was paving the way for us to enter to the building. Anyhow, also Ori Aloni, the head of the Likud youth, became my friend until today. And I continued this habit.
What do you think it is about you that has allowed you to build friendships where so many others have made enemies? What is it about your mindset or your approach that has allowed you to cross some of those gaps?
Josh, we are judging each other from the surface. And from the surface, there is a very ugly image, very ugly reality. On the surface, we were both ugly to each other. Trust me, there is no Mother Teresa in this conflict. Okay, regardless, don't do comparisons. I can go into the argument, but we have done a lot of ugly things to each other, and this is all on the surface. On the surface, you will see the hard feelings, the hatred, the incitement, everything ugly there. If you are able a little bit to dig deep, you will realize that there is a reservoir of common humanity that connects Palestinians and Israelis. You cannot say that the Palestinians are not human beings. You cannot say that Israelis are not human beings, regardless what we do to each other. So if you are not able to reach to that depths, you will not be able to have a lot of compromise and understanding to the other side, even when he is in uniform. Because you will start understanding why he is in uniform. He's not there to cause you harm. He's there because he has the burden of the Holocaust, he has the burden of the security challenges of the Israeli and the Jewish people, and he wants to do his duty to his nation. You can understand, you can put yourself in his shoes. I decided at a certain point of my life not to have any hard feelings to the Israelis, to control it. When you are able to control it, you will be able always to find common ground. If you surrender to the hard feelings, things will continue to go wrong. So it's a learning curve. Okay, you need to have a lot of effort to reach there. I'll tell you something, Josh. I've been participating in thousands and thousands of Israeli-Palestinian meetings. I meet an average of 300 Israelis a week. I meet 400 or 500 Palestinians a week, especially now during the election campaign, because I had 10 lists in these elections as a preparation for a political party to come. I talk to Israel from wall to wall, left, center, right wing, Haredim, secular, academic, media, all levels of society. I joke with my Israeli friends and I tell them, guys, I know you better than you know yourselves because I talk to all of you, you don't talk to each other. So listen to me, don't listen to yourselves. There is a possibility for any group in any meeting to agree on lots of things. The most difficult action you want to ask the extreme leftist Israeli, the extreme leftist Palestinian, put them in one room. They will agree on everything. When you ask them to apologize and ask for pardon, they stop. It's very hard. It's very hard because you are in the dilemma of, will I condemn myself as being the wrong side, or it's very hard. So asking pardon is very hard. And this is related to the hard feelings and related the damage that is happening from this conflict.
So I wanted to ask you a few more sort of direct questions about the situation at the moment. So I guess I'd like to start in the West Bank, but looking at it from a Palestinian perspective. We had some municipal elections recently. Tell us a little bit about those. And on the Palestinian side, how much hope is there for a kind of democratic renewal versus what you've already described, which is, the Abbas administration regime, I don't know what you want to call it, but is quite entrenched in Ramallah. So what is there, when you look at the Palestinians in the West Bank, that gives you cause for optimism, and then what are your concerns?
Let's look at the results of these elections. Taking into consideration that we have been taken hostages as Palestinians to the results of the elections in 2006. Hamas won, so this disqualifies us forever from practicing democracy in the mind of the West. When I talk to your government now, even the Labour government that recognize the state of Palestine, it's a political theater. Two of my colleagues couldn't come here because they denied them visa. And I'll tell you, they have USA visa, they have multiple entry Schengen visa. These people raised hundreds of thousands of shekels for the campaign, so I mean, nobody can question their. But, you know, so why do you recognize the state of Palestine? If you are not going to treat me the way you are treating the Israelis, the Israelis, they can enter here freely. Anyhow, when we ask these policymakers, government officials in the West, why do you keep doing business with Abbas? Each leader of you, when he hosts Abbas and receive him as a legitimate leader of the Palestinian, he is betraying the Palestinian democracy. He's betraying everything that I am fighting for. The answer is, well, this is internal issue. We don't interfere in internal issues. Okay, good. Why do you interfere in our textbooks? Why do you interfere in the salaries? It's not that I am against your interference. I welcome it. It's needed. But these are also internal issues. And you pick and choose which internal issues you want to interfere and which internal issues you want to avoid. We deserve democracy. You cannot tell us that democracy is good for you here in UK and it's not good for us as Palestinians. It's good for Israelis, even when they elect Ben Gvir, but it's not good for us because once we have elected Hamas to power. So these elections came today after the 7th of October. And they came as part of a new law. By this law, any candidate, any voter in this election should recognize the agreements between Israel and the PLO, including recognizing the state of Israel. It's a condition. The candidates signed this statement as part of their candidacy application. So the reaction from the radicals, including Hamas, Jihad Islami, Popular Front, Democratic Front, was a campaign to boycott these elections. The turnout was 53%. It means 53% of the Palestinian population didn't care, didn't respond to the boycott call of Hamas and the others. This doesn't mean that 47% is Hamas, because out of the 47%, half are people who don't care about any elections.
We have elections coming up this week. I don't think we'll get that much.
These are people who
53% here.
So this is a test. Forget about all the polls. This part of the society, of the Palestinian society, is in the range of 25%. Now, you cannot demonstrate it in a better way. Now, on the results of these elections, Abbas, with all the power that he has, the backup from the Palestinian intelligence and all the hierarchy of the administration, the whole system was working for his official list of Fatah. From the early stage of trying to manipulate any list that is raising against them, trying to force strong candidates in the list to go away from the rest. They have played all the dirty game. We will not we were not able to challenge them in 26 municipalities. They won because there was no competition. But in the other cases, wherever they have been challenged, they lost. Now, the 10 lists that I was part of sponsoring, 3 of them won majority in 3 cities. In 1 city, it was 75% against 25% for Abbas list, with all the power they have. So he has been defeated. Yet, and this reminds me with another leader, his twin, Nitzahon Mukhlat. He's defeated and he says, we won, Abbas. I won the elections. Fatah proved to be the popular choice of the Palestinian people, which is not true. I think we should now work very hard to force the national elections, legislative and presidential.
How feasible is that, do you think?
It is very visible. I guess the Palestinian Central Election Commission proved it is capable to organize a free and fair election. Between brackets, they have done their best. They have done a very good job in Gaza and in the West Bank. And it has proven that Palestinians under plastic tents in Gaza go in thousands and vote because they know this is the cornerstone of changing their lives. The main challenge for Palestinians now is lack of leadership. Our leadership is living in a bubble. They think they have achieved independence 20 years ago. He has the red carpet. He has a 60 million Boeing private jet that flies him from one place to another place. Everybody hosts him like a king. Now he is creating, he's trying to transfer power with the dynasty of Abbas family. His legacy wants to go to his son. So they are totally disconnected. And if you listen, the terminology that Ehud Barak introduced to the Israeli politics after the Camp David talks, I don't have a partner. The lack of partner on the Palestinian side now is not a political slogan. It is a security need and necessity for the Israelis. Lack of partner on the Palestinian side is very dangerous for Palestinians and for Israelis. It's time that we test the Palestinians. Are they able to produce the partner? And the partner needs to do a lot of very difficult decisions, Josh. One side should start changing. We cannot continue business as usual after the 7th of October. There is a lot of confused Israelis, a lot of confused Palestinians. Is going from bad to worse every day. Somebody needs to start a change on one side. If one side changes, the other side will follow. You don't need to have...
So I want to ask you about the other side then. So
No, I believe...
Fair enough.
I believe, Josh, we need to start the change. And from my experience, I think the best thing we should start doing, Israelis and Palestinians, is to stop lecturing each other. I cannot come to a platform and keep lecturing the Israelis on international law and human rights. They don't want to listen to this language. And I cannot keep blaming and not assuming responsibility. Now, I think we, the Palestinians, need to take the first steps of change. Then the Israelis will follow. Why do we have this obligation? Why should we assume this obligation? For a simple reason. despite the fact that both of us are paying heavy price out of this conflict, yet the Israelis, they have a very nice country, OECD country, strong economy, startup nation. They have even after what has happened on the 7th of October, don't be misled, the Israeli army is still the strongest army in the region. They did not, the 7th of October did not happen because the Israeli army was weak. It happened because there was no Israeli army on the border that morning. They were policing Smotrich in Kever Yosef in Nablus. So they have a passport that does not need visa, not like us, to the UK. Passport that connects the Israelis with 160 countries without visa. They can wait another 10 years. They are not in a rush. We don't have all of this. With 2 million people in plastic tents, we cannot wait 10 days. We have a sense of urgency. They don't have it. So we need now to start doing things to change the dynamics of relation between Israelis and Palestinians. I can tell you what we should do. The profile of the partner on the Palestinian side. One, we should change the narrative. Not recognizing the historical links of Jews in this land is a big mistake. It's a piece of fact. They belong to this land. Even if we open the Quran in its biggest chapter, Surah Al-Baqarah, you will find it there documented more than any other book. The stories of Abraham Avinu and all these stories, it's the same. We call it Abraham Avinu, they call it Abraham. It's the same guy, the same stories. It's here and there. And I don't know why we are not recognizing this right and this link. Recognizing this right does not mean that we don't belong to the land. Because as a piece of fact also, historical facts, the Jewish people have never been alone in the land. There was always others. And these others are us. By recognizing the historical links, the whole conflict will be changed from a conflict of who belongs and who does not belong to a question of how do we both belong. This helps the majority of Israelis and Palestinians to start thinking differently in seeing each other and in finding a way out of the conflict. Technically, there is thousands of years, thousands of coexistence history, thousands of years of coexistence history between us and the Jewish people. Only the last 100 years went wrong. In the past, we never fought each other. Together, we fought invaders who came from abroad. We never fought each other. The last 100 years went wrong. So if there is that history, common history, it's very easy to find the common future. So that's the first thing we should do. You know, Abbas, until now, despite the fact that he is committed to security coordination, he is committed to nonviolence, he still keeps in the logo of Fatah the full map and the two Kalashnikovs. What can be more confusing to young generation? You say something and you keep the classical things around. Under such circumstances, even if you change the textbooks, we will not be able to control the discussion in the classrooms because it's confusing everybody. You go in every Palestinian official office and you find that logo and you find a lot of confusing messages in the media and everywhere. That's why changing the narrative is very important. Second, the Palestinians need to believe that if we want to win this war, we need to stop fighting. Some wars You win if you stop fighting. You win, it does not mean you defeat the other side. You can reach to a win-win situation when you stop fighting. The Palestinian strategy that is based on pressuring the Israelis is a broken strategy. Pressuring them by using violence on the ground and by mobilizing the international community against Israel. They become more stubborn. The more you pressure, the more they become more stubborn. The best way is to try to persuade them. And it's not a very complicated job, by the way, Josh. If we Palestinians are able to change the hearts and minds of 300,000 Jewish voters in the coming elections, we will have a political through. It's not complicated.
So I wanted to ask you about the elections coming up in Israel, because, well, we don't know exactly when they're going to be, but given that you're perhaps better placed than a lot of Israelis, as you say, because you see a almost bigger picture, what do you make of these elections? I think a lot of people in this country, certainly I would imagine in this room, feel very eager to see the back of Netanyahu. But I sometimes wonder how much would really change. I suppose the thing people are even more eager to see the back of is Ben Gvir and Smotrich and the extremists that are in the current government. So we have this new movement with Lapid and Bennett coming together. Are you optimistic for them? Do you think that they can forge a path? Can they actually beat Netanyahu? Well, how do you view it? How do you think it'll play out?
What I don't understand from these elections, and I am a person who believes that we are always one Israeli election away from peace. If we Palestinians are able to convince them to vote to that option, we will have it. And we Palestinians, we have the exclusive power among all nations to convince them that there is a partner they can trust. You, the British, you cannot convince them that there is a Palestinian partner. We need to convince them. I cannot understand that after the 7th of October, there is a national elections that does not discuss the 7th of October, does not discuss the security reasons, the Palestinian questions. No political party has in his political platform anything that is related to this. The focus is on the cost of living, on the coalition shape. And I think this is a failure from the Israeli side. If we are talking about change, allow me now to say something about what the Israelis should do. And I will tell you what will be the most difficult decision we need to take. The Israelis, they need to decide now, what do they want to do with Palestinians? And there are two options: separation or annexation. They cannot manage the situation in this way. If they want to continue managing the situation, all of us are waiting for the next earthquake. Could anybody imagine the 7th of October? No. By the way, there was a lot of information about the 7th of October, but there was a lack of imagination. Sinwar was giving us the plan except the date in public, but nobody believed him. Nobody imagined he could do it. It's like now, there is a lot of indication that the region would like to integrate Israel, to have peace, normalization, the Saudis, and there is a lot of information, but there was a lack of imagination. We cannot imagine peace on both sides, unfortunately. So they need to decide. I once asked my daughter, by the way, I have 9 kids. I am a Palestinian Haredi. So I have 3 of them in the Gen Z category. I asked one of them, her name is Alice. I asked her, Alice, what do you want? A 2-state solution or a 1-state solution? She told me, well, Dad, ask your Israeli friends. You know lots of them. Let them choose, I will accept. I accept both options. For me, both are good. If they prefer two-state solution, okay, let's go for it. They prefer one-state solution, okay, let's go for it. But I cannot accept the current two-floor solution, where they are in the noble floor, we are in the servant floor. The other two options are okay with me. I told her, listen, there is no constituency in Israel now for the two-state solution. They might prefer the one-state solution, but they want it to be a Jewish state. Can you accept it? She said, Dad, if they will treat me well, they can call it a Buddhist state. I don't care. I don't care. But I need to be treated equally. When I land to Ben Gurion today, when I'm leaving out, so the first check is when a nice young man or lady comes and asks you who packed your luggage, and then he puts a sticker. All of you get number 4. Foreigners usually get 5. Some Palestinians, most of the time, get 5. But when he is in a bad temper, he gives you 6. I usually get 5. Okay. You go to a separate line of security check. I always wonder, those who get 4 are not checked well? I mean, what's the difference? You should check everybody in the most professional way. So why there are 4, 5, 6? What's the difference? I mean, I don't understand it. I think 4 is enough check. The other of it is a political statement. This young lady gave me 6. I know what is 6. You go to a closed room, you get to your clothes, you get naked, technically, when they check you. I know what is 6. And I asked her, why? Why? She said, that's my job. Okay, your job, but there is sequences. Why did you put me in that category? Can you explain to me? She doesn't want to explain. It's a personal decision. So she said, if they start treat me the same way in Ben Gurion, if they give me equal opportunity to be part of the startup nation, I accept to be in a Jewish state. This is a decision the Israelis need to decide. If they don't want two-state solution, if they really want annexation, I was invited to the GNS conference last year. I am invited again this year. GNS is extreme right-wing Israel with MAGA USA together in one conference.
Is that fun? Was that fun?
It was a good experience for me. I was a speaker. For them to invite a Palestinian is,
Not nothing.
I should recognize this. It is recognized. My panel was at 3, and the whole day was under the slogan annexation, annexation, annexation. People like Israel Katz, the head of Benjamin Regional Council, and all the good guys, you know them. So my panel came, and I was on stage. First of all, a funny story. You know, now there is a trend, everybody is putting that necklace from both sides with the whole map. From our side and from your side, especially the kids. Yep. I can differentiate the Israeli from the Palestinian because the Israelis, they have the same map with the Golan Heights. The Palestinian, both necklaces are the product of the same factory in China. They just wrap it and sell it to us. I saw 2 ladies from MAGA, I think, New Yorkers, with the necklace. And I asked them, ladies, can I ask you, from where did you buy the necklaces? And one of them said, from the old city. I told her, okay, it seems you bought the wrong one. This is the Hamas from the river to the... We came so confused that we put the symbol of the enemy, we don't recognize what's the difference. So I told the people attending the conference, guys, you have been bombarding me in slogans of annexation. I don't see a plan. I don't see a strategy. But I'll tell you something. You have Trump in the White House, and you have Bibi and Smotrich and Ben Gvir in Balfour Street. What are you waiting for? Why don't you do the annexation? Go for it. It's our dream. It's your nightmare. Look at me. I am your dream. I am an ex-Palestinian. Do you want 5 million people like me to have the blue ID and the yellow plate and to start traveling everywhere in Israel? I am a platinum member of El Al. Do you want, after annexation, to have 50% of each El Al flight Palestinians? Go for it. You Israel cats. I come from Sinjil. It's in the Benjamin region. Do you want my family in Sinjil to start voting for you in Benjamin Regional Council? Do you want people from Hizma and Anata to start coming to the Kobat Holim in Psagot? Do annexation. What are you doing? Why don't you do it? They say annexation, but they don't want to implement it. Trust me. They are afraid from it. They could have done it if they want. The only way to sort this conflict is this two-state solution. If not, anything else is not a solution. It means that one side defeated the other, and it's not going to happen. Israelis will not disappear. Palestinians will not disappear. If you really want a Jewish democratic state, you need to separate from millions of Palestinians. It's so simple. It's so simple. I want to say 2 quick stories, okay? On the El Al issue, I was traveling with my family from a vacation in El Al. And then my wife asked one of my kids, Yusuf, he's 12 years old, to go and bring some hot water. She wants to prepare the formula for the baby, Omar. He's 2 years old. Yusuf went, and then he came back with the attendants who was shouting, "Who is the father?" in Hebrew. I said, "I am the father. What's wrong?" He said, "Educate your son. Teach him manners." I was surprised. And I asked Yusuf, "What did you do?" He said, I asked him for hot water. He told me, "Do you speak Hebrew?" I said, "No." He said, "Are you American?" I said, "No, I am Palestinian." He got angry. He said, "Listen, second warning. He can't say Palestinian. You are in El Al flight." I told him, "Hold your horses. I am Palestinian. I am platinum member." Okay, this is the Israeli carrier, but you can fly Americans, you can fly Japanese, you can fly Palestinians. He didn't intend to offend you, trust me. He was spontaneous. He feels Palestinian. It's not to offend you, but I can understand after the 7th of October that the word is very heavy to listen. I forgot the other story. So.
I just want to say, I think we're going to do a couple of questions towards the end. So I'm going to ask one more question, I think, and then we'll give a couple of opportunities for everyone else. I just want to ask you about Gaza. Obviously, there is a stabilization framework, I think it's called, created by Donald Trump, and there are various different boards that are connected to one another with various people on them. There's been so much going on in the world lately, some of it on our front doorstep here in London, but also obviously in Iran. I think some people have taken their eye off the ball in Gaza. Is there any thing that gives you hope there? Do you think, how much faith do you think you have in these technocratic solutions that are being imposed from the top down? How does that compare to what the situation on the ground is, with Israel effectively dug in along a yellow line there?
The Trump plan is the only game on town. We cannot say that It didn't come in good timing. It's not it's not a perfect plan because there is no perfect plan. Whatever plan has some weaknesses built in. Now, I don't want to think a lot about the motivation of Trump. Why is he doing it? I don't care. He has done the right thing. The ceasefire by itself, something that should be recognized. Our kids, your kids were killed in large numbers before he stepped in and stopped the war in Gaza. And don't ever think that 12 or 15 Israeli army battalions in Gaza will bring security to Israel. One battalion on the borders, not inside, will bring enough security. Now, don't trust anybody. I tell the Israelis, never trust anybody. You are so strong, you can protect yourself. But the correct way. You don't need to be 20 battalions in the West Bank and 20 battalions in Gaza and 15 in Lebanon, and the whole Air Force is shuttling between Tehran, and you can protect Israel in a better way. So I think Trump peace plan has brought hope again. But there is a lot of challenges. There is not enough political will. We have our problems. Bibi does not want to go ahead before elections in Gaza. He's now focused on pleasing his grassroots base more than anything else. I see this plan now stuck because, let me say it frankly, off the record, I am involved in a back channel. When you look at the American team, if Kushner and Witkoff are busy in something, everything freezes in Gaza. They are busy in Iran now. Because every single step by Bibi needs a lot of pressure from them personally. It does not continue automatically, the implementation of the plan. When they are busy, the American team, I could see them Bibi team. I mean, two guys who are leading the implementation. One of them has been, when I speak with him, I speak in Hebrew. It's nothing wrong in this, but you know, they are very keen to reflect Bibi's opinion. The chief of staff in the White House, that lady was the head of the Likud campaign for Bibi in 2020. So sometimes you are confused. Okay, so without proper pressure, things are not moving. Now, this process is stuck because Bibi says, for me, the disarmament of Hamas is an event, a one-day event. They need to come to certain collection point, and they need to bring their guns, and they need to raise white flags, and they need to put their armament, all of them, and then I will let NGAG, the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, to enter and start receiving its power. This is a slogan. It is not a strategy. It's not going to happen. Disarmament is a process. It starts at a point, and it is very much dependent not on the Americans, not on the Israelis. It is very much dependent on the Palestinians. If we don't have a Palestinian Ben Gurion that will activate the Altelena option, the disarmament is not going to happen. This is the only way, the hard way. NGAG should enter. Hamas now is ready to deliver all the authorities to NGAG, including the police and internal security, and the power of implementing and enforcing the law, and then we need to do the job. It's as simple as this. So we are stuck there, and I'm not sure what will happen. Either the Americans will come back with all their efforts to push things, or there will be a change in power in Israel. But with the current situation, things are not going to move in Gaza. And trust me, me and you, because I think this conflict is no more Israeli-Palestinian. This conflict today is moderates against radicals. We here, we are one side. They there, they are on the other side. The radicals on both sides, they are partners. The moderates on both sides should be partners. We have a common mission. We, the moderates, we will lose. This loss of time is at our expense, because Hamas will gain strength again, because people who had applauded for the Trump plan in Gaza from wall to wall, now they are feeling that it has changed nothing. The credibility of that process is eroding, and this is very dangerous.
Okay, that was a very beautiful framing that I hadn't quite heard it said, put that succinctly. Moderates versus radicals. So let's hear from some moderate questions. Please do keep them very brief. We've got a mic up there. There's a lady there with her hand up in a black dress. And yeah, quick as you can. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for coming to share your story, and I'm really sorry to hear about your friend that you mentioned at the beginning. I guess my question is, to me it seems like the PA is kind of in a bit of a chokehold at the moment, and there's not really, like you said, a partner. So two things. I guess, what can Israelis on the ground do, and Jews in the diaspora, or people in the diaspora do to, I guess, kind of spread that message and empower in some way, like, voices who are coming through from the region? And where are those voices? Sorry, 2 in 1.
Well, I think we need to keep more of these meetings. We need to start moving as one body that has common ground, common objectives. Again, the moderation, I believe most of Israelis are by DNA moderates. Most of Palestinians by DNA are moderates. There are a minority of radicals, but their voice is very loud. Our voice is very low. We don't mobilize our resources. We don't focus. We don't put the work plan together. We need to start acting as one body. Palestinians, Israelis, in diaspora, inside the Israel-Palestine. We need to keep giving momentum to change, positive change. And I think more of these events are very important. We need to give each other platforms. There is no more powerful voice than Israeli moderate responsible voice talking to Palestinians with responsibility. It will touch their hearts. And it is always a moderate Palestinian talking with the responsibility to Israelis will touch their hearts. We need to create these platforms and create these engagements. I believe that this conflict, not like all the other conflicts, by the way, I studied master degrees conflict resolution in the Hebrew University lately, and after the 7th of October, not because a degree will change my career, I am not employed in anywhere, but because I wanted to live the Israeli experience in its details after the 7th of October. I wanted to mix and mingle with them as much as possible. And the university was a good example. I learned a lot there. Conflict resolution theorists say political solutions will bring reconciliation. In our case, we need to start with reconciliation in order to reach to political solution. Without reconciliation, it is not going to happen. The focus of Trump plan now is in reconstruction. They want to fix homes. Nobody is caring about fixing hearts. The damage in our hearts is more severe than the damage in the infrastructure. So we need to start a process of reconciliation parallel to the Trump process of reconstruction. It's very important. And we need to do it as quick as possible, as intensive as possible with all the resources we have to create this coalition that fixes the damage in the hearts of Israelis and Palestinians.
Do you find that to be realistic? I mean, it's a beautiful aspiration, but is it something that you could really see happening?
I'm doing this every day. It's working everywhere, every time. I can tell you, you know, the Israeli security and military industry, they always use the term battlefield tested before they sell a weapon. I will tell you, my weapon is battlefield tested. Trust me.
Okay, next question. Oh, there's a lot of questions. There's a man here in a sort of reddish-orange shirt. What colour shirt would you say that is? Brown? Burgundy. Fine. Burgundy shirt.
But as an
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
but as a non-drinker, I wouldn't know. Can I ask you, Samer, would you be able to reach out now to the moderates, the 60% of relative moderates that are in the religious Zionist community, and talk to them? Because there's an initiative coming with Ne'emanei Avodah V'Torah, seriously from people who say the religious Zionist community is not represented by Smotrich and Ben Gvir. They need to be prepared for peace and to be able to receive a Palestinian partner when those partners become apparent. Will you be able to reach out in the coming period before the election to such organizations?
I'll tell you something. I never say no to an invitation to talk. I was invited last week to a Mechina group in Hebron, and I went there. I am invited by Channel 14, I go there. So yes, I want to outreach in particular to the right-wing part of the Israeli politics, because I think we need to convince these people. We don't need to convince the convinced. We need to talk to these people. So if you have any contact, any opportunity, I'll be more than happy. And I'll tell you something. If I receive an invitation by the American ambassador or any ambassador for a lunch or dinner, and I receive an invitation from two Israelis for a meeting, I will choose the two Israelis. We need to focus in talking to each other, not to the world, not to the others, especially we Palestinians. We need to focus talking to the Israelis, because any political solution will not come via Washington or via Berlin. It will come via Rishon LeZion, Zechron Yaakov, Ramallah, Jericho, every Palestinian and Israeli city. The more we get in touch and know each other, the faster we will come to a breakthrough. And we should focus on this.
Okay, so I'm scanning to this side of the room. Let's try two questions, and that might.
I can stay as much as you need. I'm not in a hurry.
So we've got a lady here at the front in a very nice, colourful jacket, and then there's a young man just behind us. So let's do both of those in a row.
Well, thank you, Sami. I appreciate your work a lot. You and Gershon. I was one of a member of Friends of IPCRI in 1985, and I worked for about 20 years with like-minded Jewish descent people in British, trying to talk about peace. but unfortunately, you can see where we reached. And I don't blame, it's not I don't, there are sometimes,
Do you have a question?
The PA, Arafat in particular, was a disaster for us. And it's wonderful to listen to you here. Would you be ready to speak with the same language, whatever you're saying, within the Palestinian community in the UK? Because it's such a shame that you come here and it's what you have said, I agree 100%. And I just want peace finish based on two-state solution. That's it. We've suffered enough, both people. And recently, actually, no, my question is, would he be able? Would you, because it's so important. At the same time, we're talking to what we call the enemy, and you've got so many friends. Until this moment, I have so many friends. But what worries me most are the settlers. The action, this is what worries me and make me live in fear when they are going to kick my family out.
Just to be clear, so the question is about talking to Palestinian activists in the UK.
And the settlers.
And the settlers too, okay. And then the young man just behind there as well, in a black t-shirt.
Hi. Oh, goodness. Samir, thank you so much for coming to speak to us. I had the privilege of hearing you multiple times, one at Lamud and the other one with the UJS Fellowship in Jerusalem. I had a question about in terms of individuals in each growing Israeli party, what is your relationship like with specific Israeli politicians, like, for example, Golan and Kariv from the Democratic Party? And is there anyone in particular you see getting a good result in this year's election?
Okay, so maybe to start with, when you go into Palestinian spaces, maybe in the UK, to narrow it down, are you able to have similar conversations, and what kind of reaction do you get?
I was always asked a question: how many Palestinians think like you? I answered it with a question: how many Palestinians did you ever meet? Usually I am the first Palestinian. Now, in the last local elections, my lists, I'm not still publishing this as a proper party because we are waiting for the political party law to be established. We are in the move. I've got 58,014 votes. So at least this group of Palestinians are thinking in the same direction. I told you the incident when Arafat declared the independence, we all signed in. When you start introducing ideas that make sense, people change their mind. Because trust me, everybody is desperate to change his life. Palestinians now are fed up from the destruction that Hamas brought upon them in Gaza, and they are fed up from the corruption that Abbas is imposing on them in the West Bank. They want something new. When you introduce new ideas, they capture it, they sign in. Now, I talk to most of the Israeli heads of political parties, most of them. And I can tell you something. We can find common ground with each one of them. Bibi is becoming toxic.
Becoming.
I don't think that there is any Arab leader that will welcome him anytime in the near or long future. He is not the right guy to achieve the integration that Israel needs in the region.
What do you think of Bennett?
He doesn't have any issues. He did not hit a Gulf country that was moderating negotiation. I mean, in the Arab culture, this is something very heavy.
The strike on Qatar.
For Qatar, I mean, when I am moderating, this capital was hosting the head of the Shabak, of the Mossad on weekly basis for talks, and then you hit it. It's the highest level of betrayal, okay, in the Arab culture. I think Bennett has established very good relations with the Arab world. And his unity with Lapid is very smart. He has closer relations with the Gulf. The two guys together could make a lot. I was very happy to see that merge between the two parties.
And this young man was asking about people like Yair Golan, maybe more on the left. I mean, is there still strength on that side of things, do you think?
Yair Golan has changed the Democratic Party and merits in big time. Now they are always in the polls, 12 plus MKs from 4. He is a very respectful leader. I know him, I met him several times. Now, Bennett, to be a prime minister in the coming election, I think it's definite. Now, whether he will be BB minus or Begin plus depends on the coalition. How many mandates will Yair Golan bring to the table? Okay. If they will have a wider center-left coalition, we have the Begin-Sadat moment again. Okay, it needs the Palestinian Sadat. That's another story, but I think Bennett is classical profile of Begin. Nobody expected Begin to do what he has done. We can see a replica of that history again. So I hope, I'll tell you something, you know, if I were a Palestinian leader, I will bring the head of the Arab parties in a closed meeting, and I will tell them, don't run these elections. Vote to Lapid and Yair Golan. Let these Jewish Zionist left-wing parties get the majority. Then they will not tell them, avoid the Arab. Don't occupy 10 seats that will not count. Give this power to the Zionist party and let them. This is a historical moment. We need to be smart.
That would be a tactical vote for the ages, I think.
Yeah.
This lady did mention briefly, I just very briefly want to address this point on settlers, because that is something I wanted to ask you about too. There is a lot of concern, I think, in this room and in the diaspora about, and in a lot of places, about the settler violence. And it seems to have got worse, and it seems to have been encouraged or allowed by the authorities in some cases. You know, as someone who lives, you know, in these places, how do you view it? How worried are you of that as a long-term trend?
We don't need to brush paint the settlers in the same color. There are some settlers who are living in some settlements for economical reasons. Okay. Now there are some fanatics, some radicals. These hilltop youth are very dangerous phenomena. And if the Israeli society will fail to control it, it will cross the green light soon inside Israel. These are very dangerous people. They are motivated by very bad ideology, and they are crossing all the red lines. But I'll tell you something. I came to conclusion that nothing can defeat the two-state solution. Nothing. Even when I drive through the highways that Smotrich has invested 7 billion shekel in new highways in the West Bank, deep in the West Bank. And this is, by the way, 30% of the Israeli budget for highways in Israel. It is serving less than 5% of the Israeli society, 30% of the budget, because of ideology. When I drive these streets, I say, thank you, Smotrich. We will inherit this infrastructure. Trust me, we, the Palestinians, in 50 years will not be able to build these roads. He's gifting us a lot of infrastructure. This will not defeat the two-state solution. I'll tell you why. If the two-state solution is defeated, Israel as a Jewish state is defeated. And I don't think that you will allow it or we will allow it.
That's the hope. Okay, we have time for one more question. Let's do it quite quickly, and then Rabbi Charlie is going to finish us. So someone right at the back, because people... So finish us off. No, that's worse. One person right at the back, because you always get ignored.
Thank you, Summer. Yes, thank you. I'd rather to give the microphone to my friend here. Tarek.
Next person.
يعطيك العافية أستاذ سامر. I think I'm between a corrupted PLO and Hamas, and I don't want to seem like I'm, crying over the spilled milk, but what could we have done as Palestinians or Gazan Palestinians to prevent October 7th realistically? Could we have done something to change the situation? And since we are here now, what could we do from here? What are the steps on the ground that we could take in Gaza to maybe a better future?
Well, Tarek, I think I was once your age, and I was so poetic to feel that it's not good to challenge the leadership. Our main problem as Palestinians is lack of leadership. We have been governed or led by 3 leaders in 100 years. 3 leaders in 100 years. Haj Amin Husseini, Yasser Arafat, and Mahmoud Abbas. None of them was a perfect leader. And we allowed them to rule. If there is something that can be done, your generation, you yourself should raise up, stand up, assume power, criticize, let your voice be heard, organize. We need to organize ourselves and change our destiny. Enough is enough. And I think we need to convince everybody that we deserve our moment for elections. In that coming elections, we need to show the world that we are changing our reality. We are bringing new leaders that are capable to introduce something different. So this is what we can do. Raise your voice, speak out, challenge everybody, and let's change the reality. We need to turn this page once forever. We are capable to be a dynamic people. I always ask the Palestinians that I meet in conversations, and I want to ask you, why do you think we Palestinians are important for the world? Do you have an answer, Tarek? Why everybody cares about us?
Okay, this could be, I think because they care about who are we fighting.
Thank you. You are the first Palestinian. You are the first Palestinian. You are very smart, Tarek. We are not important to anybody. They are important. We are lucky we are in conflict with them.
That's actually true. I always say that, yeah.
Now, I want to tell you something. Imagine if we become smart enough to change this relation from conflict to partnership, we will gain 1,000 times more. Our whole life for generations will change. So we need to do this. Change this relation from conflict to alliance and partnership.
Well, I'll just finish my point. I just want to say thank you for your wit, your insight, and your hope, because there's nothing more important. And I will now pass to Charlie.
Thank you.
Samir, in a recent interview with the Jewish News, you said that we cannot defeat time. So in classic Jewish tradition, I'm going to argue with you a little. For the Jewish calendar does not begin in the heavens. It begins with people. Witnesses see the new moon and come before a court, and the court declares a new month. Even if the witnesses are mistaken, even if the court gets it wrong, the festivals still fall when human beings declare them. In other words, God gives us the responsibility for sacred time. Or, as Rabbi Joshua Heschel put it, Judaism does not build cathedrals in space, it builds cathedrals in time. And that means time is not something that simply happens to us, it's something that we are asked to shape. And that carries a difficult implication. Not everything is decided for us. Not everything can be left to heaven, to history, or even to governments, or as we've heard tonight, to leaders. Much of what happens in the world depends on human choices, on what we do or what we fail to do. And how painful does that feel tonight? For time is running short. For many, it has run out. There have been too many lives lost, too many opportunities missed, too many moments where action came too late. And here too in Britain, that is not abstract. We know as a Jewish community, our communities are frightened. Anti-Semitism is real and it is rising. The public conversation has become harsher, flatter, and less able to hold complexity. Too often, people are pushed into camps as if grief for Israelis or grief for Palestinians cannot exist in the same moral universe. And that's why tonight mattered so much. There's a famous story in the Talmud, which I'm sure many of you know. Rabbi Eliezer calls on heaven to prove that he is right, and a divine voice agrees with him. But Rabbi Joshua stands and says, Lo b'shamayim hi, it is not in heaven. The Torah is no longer decided by voices from above. It is in human hands. Later, Elijah is asked what God said in that moment. And he tells us, God smiled and said, my children have defeated me. God did not punish them for taking responsibility. Instead, God smiled. And so that is the tradition I would ask all of us to inherit tonight. Not one that waits for heaven. Not one that assumes time will heal what we refuse to confront. Not one that lets fear or despair have the final word. Leadership is the word that I am taking away from tonight. The title of this evening is from Psalm 34, Seek peace and pursue it. Not admire peace, not wait for peace, not speak of peace only when it is easy. So let us be that change. Let us be that leadership. Let us seek it and pursue it. We cannot afford to lose. And so, Samir, thank you for tonight. Thank you for showing up, for speaking, for the courage it takes to stay in this conversation. It is noticed by all of us in this room and far beyond, and it matters. Peace will not arrive on its own. It will depend on people, on us, following your example. People in this room, in our communities, and across Israel and Palestine, choosing partnership over fatalism, courage over performance, and relationship over despair. So thank you to you. Thank you to you, Josh, for holding the conversation, to We Democracy, and to all of you for being here. Not in heaven, right here. Thank you.